Welcome, folks, back again to Earth Now. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Azara Anna, and I will be your host. Thank you all for the positive feedback that I received from you after the first show. As you know, Earth Now features stories of people taking action to create a better world wherever they are, and thereby becoming what I call Earth Now heroes. To me, everyone that is doing something good and positive for the world is a hero. And speaking of heroes, somebody asked me after the last show, what's my definition of a hero? Well, to me, again, a hero is anybody who is helping anybody, anywhere, anytime, doing anything at all. It could be something small. It could be making a meal for your neighbor. It could be going up and cleaning your neighborhood. It could be saving somebody's life. It doesn't matter. Sometimes we think of specific heroes such as people that do save lives, like police officers, firefighters, medical personnel, all of these kinds of people. But we never really hear about farmers being heroes. And if you think about it, without the farmers in the USA and throughout the planet, where would any one of us be, correct? Because they grow the food to sustain us so that we can live our lives, literally. Unfortunately, over many years now, farmers have faced many, many, many challenges, and fully half, believe it or not, fully half of American farmers now face debt, mounting debt. In other words, they're not earning enough during their year of harvesting whatever crops and working very hard to even pay their basic bills. And more people are falling away from the occupation of farming, which is to me very alarming, because who's going to grow our food? Right now, there's about, they say maybe a little bit over 1 million people in the US that are farmers. Again, half of those are in debt. More and more, as I said, walking away from that occupation because of the growing challenges of weather, so-called climate change, higher cost of products, encroaching foreign corporations that are buying up farmland faster and faster these days. I can tell you that in the US, there are about 1.3 billion acres of agricultural land available to grow food, which we all need. But as of right now, there are more than 40 million acres of farmland, US farmland, owned by foreign entities. The biggest one of them is China. That to me is a staggering figure because it mounts every day. So what is being grown on those 40 million acres owned by foreign entities? I do not know, but I do know that American farmers now, because of lack of demand, are forced to throw away products that they're growing, crops that they're growing, which depletes their funding even further. So I would urge everybody to please understand this issue, because it's going to affect every single one of you sooner or later. And I want to highlight a particular organization that has been helping farmers for the past 25 years or more, and has raised over $70 million to help the farmers sustain themselves. That would be helping individual farmers to just keep a roof over their head and keep growing the crops that we all need. And this organization is called Farm Aid. Farm Aid started about 1985 by some very caring musicians in the heartland of America, a very well-known musicians such as Willie Nelson, Neil Young, John Mellencamp, who came together because in the 1980s, just like now, farmers were facing great challenges and hardships, and they decided to do what musicians can do, which is to put together very good benefit concerts and let people know about the challenges of farmers and raise money to help them. And so every year they've had this big, beautiful concert called Farm Aid, which you can go online on YouTube. You can find clips of the musicians playing. Again, it's called Farm Aid. This year we just had one this past Sunday, and I want to give a real shout out and commendation to all the performers that were there, ranging anybody from Willie Nelson to Bob Dylan and to just about anybody that is of a major star standing participated not only in this concert this year, but all the concerts in the past year. Again, a shout out to Farm Aid. Please help the farmers in any way that you can because it will benefit all of us. Real heroes, the farmers of America and everywhere else are really Earthnow heroes. If anybody's an Earthnow heroes, it's the farmers across the planet. So here's another story that caught my attention from the world of fitness and health. Now, I see a lot of people, and a lot of people, obviously, and rightly so, should be, concerned with keeping themselves very fit and very healthy. And a lot of them are now wearing these devices that tell them how long they're walking, how many steps they're taking. And I know when I walk, my exercise is walking. I'm not a gym person, but I am a walker and I am in very, very fit condition. So that's my exercise. So when I walk around, I don't wear any devices. I don't measure any steps at all. But when I walk around, I see all of my neighbors pretty much walking or jogging, and they have this little Apple Watch or other kind of device. And I'll stop always and say, "Hi, how are you doing today?" And they'll say, "Oh, I'm trying to get to my goal today. Oh my God, I haven't reached my goal." And I said, "Well, what is your goal?" And they say, "Oh, I have to do 10 steps. I've only done 5,000 or 6,000, or whatever the number is." And I'm saying, "Well, why do you need to do 10,000 steps?" And they said, "Well, that's because that's the recommended number of steps that people are telling me to do." And I said, "Well, here's the good news, folks out there." Like I said to my neighbors, doctors have now revised those number of steps. No longer do you need to really tire yourself out, punch yourself into exhaustion by thinking you have to do 10,000 steps. They have lowered that 10,000 step number to only 4,000 steps. That's right. 4,000 steps is the only number you need to achieve, quote unquote, health, to keep yourself fit, to keep your body in some kind of flexible moving condition. Just so I think that is going to relieve the mind. Certainly a lot of my neighbors of all ages that think, "Oh my God, they haven't reached their goal for today." So lower it to 4,000. Some of them are even saying that you can take as little as 2,000 steps and not have to worry about it. Just go out and enjoy your walk. What's the point? You're out there, you're stressing yourself out that you're not meeting your goal of 10,000. That to me defeats the entire purpose of keeping your immune system. If you're out there exercising and you're stressed because you're not meeting those 10,000, I don't think that is doing your immune system any good. So I've always had the thought, I'm going to take whatever, is it a half hour, is it 45 minutes? I take a sort of a nice semi-brisk walk where I can just look at beautiful nature and just reflect upon the day or whatever. That I feel very refreshed when I come back because I haven't been out there stressing about how many steps and don't care about how many steps I've taken. So that's another feel-good story there that I'm hoping will encourage others of you who thought, "Oh, I'll never ever be able to achieve that 10,000 a day step figure." Don't worry about it. Just go out and take whatever, how many or however few steps you can take. Just, do it, as they say. And I think any doctor now would agree with that. What's the point? Because they say, as you know, the disease enters the body when your immune system, when you're under stress. If you're under stress, then anything and everything has more of an entree onto your system than not. So leave those devices at home, folks. Just go out and enjoy your walk, however long or however short. Just forget about that whole thing. So another, feel-good story for me. Now I'm going to talk about cars. Now, some of us like cars, some of us don't like cars. I've been living in cities most of my life where I did not need a car, and I wish I were in a place right now where I did not need a car, but that's not the case because around me it's beautiful space, but there is no public transportation. So I am obligated to have a car, drive a car to get anywhere at all, including just doing common errands, shopping for food, etc. But here's the good news for all people who now are motivated maybe to go electric, because everybody's being encouraged to go electric, even though, electric cars are expensive. And there is no guarantee about the safety of the batteries, because the batteries are being, um, well, they're being made up of various chemicals that may not be sustainable, so to speak, either in the mining of those materials and those metals that go into making up those batteries. And I can tell you the stress and the lives that is costing children in third world. For instance, my organization, Global Peace Media, has a project in the Sudan that has mothers concerned, and because they are so poor in that Sudan area, that they are being forced to make a choice of sending some of their children to work in these mines to collect the metals that will go into making up electric batteries. And sometimes these kids are forced to, because they don't have any protective gear, they don't have any masks, they don't have a hazmat suit, they don't even gloves most of the time, so they're using their bare hands, and you can only imagine the safety and health consequences of that. So when I read this story about a company that was making an electric car that was being powered by salt water, you heard me right, salt water. This company is able to make the batteries just by a process using salt water. And they kind of previewed that car, which is, it's an electric car called the Quant, spelled Quant, the Quant, or Qant, whatever. I've seen it spelled both ways, but this is a car that obviously would not be causing damage to the atmosphere, because the myth of going electric to save the planet is just that, a myth, because it takes more energy to go electric than to stay where you are in terms of using gasoline. But most people have no clue that that's happening. So again, this is a really good news story. If this is ever allowed to happen, for this company to go forward, the car is already there, car is already manufactured, the salt water clearly available everywhere, and then to put the salt water through a process, a non-hazardous process, and have that as the fuel that runs the electric cars, and clearly there would be no emissions, no harmful emissions of any kind derived from salt water. So I think that is just one of the best news stories I've seen in a long time, that clearly will affect millions and millions and millions of people around the world that would decide to buy electric cars. And as we know, in this country, there's legislation now where, certainly here on the East Coast and other places, by I think either 2030, they even want to go sooner than 2030, that you cannot sell any car in the East Coast that is not electric. These electric batteries, I know in the New York City area, have caused, even in what they call the electric bikes, just has been a major tragedy in some cases, because people tend to store the electric batteries in an inside location and then decide they're going to charge those batteries in a closed location that is not zoned and regulated to have charging stations there. So either they're doing it illegally in their own house, or they're going to the neighborhood charging station that is not licensed. And more often than not, so many fires, many fires, I'm not talking about a fire once in a while, but many fires, and people have actually died now from these illegal charging station and electric batteries operations. So this is a movement here towards using salt water for electric bikes and electric cars that absolutely can save lives. So kudos to this company that is coming up with this, and I can only say I hope they will be allowed to go forward in manufacturing this whole thing. Okay, friends, that's all the stories I have for today. Once again, thank you very much for listening to Earth Now. Please send us any feedback that you have, any wonderful stories that have caught your attention about heroes in your neighborhood or in the planet at all. And as always, I encourage everybody to take some kind of action to create a better world and be an Earth Now hero. See you next time, guys.